be great. I do have to wait till it's 6 o'clock, so, and the bad news is I don't have the best vision, so somebody might have to tell me. Yes, sir, I will.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, you're on the call.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Maya, sure, we're just about to get started.
Okay.
Thank you. I counted to 30. It didn't turn yet. Okay, and I do have one more last call for signups for public comment. If you want to come right up here, you can sign in directly with me. She's putting one of y'all on the spot. You don't know who's going to be speaking. Perfect, thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'll call this the meeting in the order of the Monroe City Council for April 11th, 2023. Reminder that my friend Foley just gave the invocation, and we appreciate your being here, Foley. Let the record reflect that all members of council are present, including Ms. Crawford, who is on the telephone. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Is there a second?
Second.
Chaz? Mr. Boyce, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. The consent agenda tonight is the council minutes from March and executive session minutes from March. Planning Commission, Historic Preservation, Downtown Development Authority, and Convention and Visitors Bureau from February. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Malcolm and second by Mr. Boyce.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to public presentations, I have a couple tonight. First, we have a child's voice. Ladies, gentleman, baby. It's a proclamation from the city of Monroe, Georgia. Whereas according to the child maltreatment report prepared by the Children's Bureau of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, there were 618,000 confirmed cases of child abuse and/or neglect in America in 2020. And whereas the Georgia Family Connection Partnership reports that there were 173 substantiated cases of child abuse and/or neglect in Walton County, Georgia in 2019. And whereas in 2021, a Child's Voice Child Advocacy Center responded to 113 cases of child physical abuse, sexual abuse, and/or a witness to a violent crime in Walton County, Georgia, by conducting forensic interviews, forensic medical exams, and family support services. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention suggests that the reported cases of child abuse may underestimate the true occurrence and estimates that 1 in 4 American children experience some form of child maltreatment in their lifetimes. And whereas according to the Darkness to Light, victims of child abuse are significantly more likely to experience emotional, psychological, health, and behavioral issues. And whereas with a strong support system and effective counseling, children are able to heal from physical and sexual abuse. And whereas children's advocacy centers, like A Child's Voice, works within the community to spread awareness about child abuse, to teach citizens how to recognize the signs and respond to child abuse, and utilize a multidisciplinary approach to coordinating care for families with the help of law enforcement, DFACS, District Attorney's Office, school systems, and mental health counselors. And whereas the Child's Voice Child Advocacy Center invites all residents of the city of Monroe, Georgia to participate in Child Abuse Prevention Month in April 2023 by sharing their time and talents to help create better, brighter futures for children and families. Now, therefore, I, John S. Howard, Mayor of the city of Monroe, do hereby proclaim April 1st through 30th, 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the city of Monroe, Georgia, and encourage all residents to become aware of the prevalence of child abuse in our community and to learn how to properly recognize, respond to, and prevent instances of child physical or sexual abuse by supporting children and families and the agencies that serve them in the city of Monroe, Georgia. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the Great Seal of the City of Monroe, Georgia, this first day of April 2023. John S. Howard. Thank you all for coming in. Are there any questions? Lauren, would you like to say something? Please do.
Thank you so much. I know that's kind of long and wordy, but what I hope you all understand from that is that April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, which I know is why everybody's here. I know that's the real reason. But we are a Child's Voice Child Advocacy Center. We come every April just to celebrate Child Abuse Prevention Month and the work that our center and other agencies do in the community to serve kids when there are allegations of abuse, including witness to crime, domestic violence, homicide. A lot of our cases are child sexual abuse cases. But we know that kids can heal from abuse and that with supportive individuals in the community, it can be a safe community for our kids. So thank you so much for having us. Thanks for letting me bring my little mascot. His dad was busy tonight, so somebody had to do it. Thank you so much.
If you want to hold that baby, anybody want to guess whose child he is? Play that game. Moving next to proclamation for Georgia Small Business Week. Whereas the state of Georgia recognizes and values the dedication and entrepreneurial spirit of Georgia's small businesses that keep the state and America's economies growing strong, and whereas there are more than 1 million small businesses operating in Georgia, which make up 99.8% of all businesses in the state and employ 1.6 million of its residents, and whereas numerous entities, including the Georgia Center of Innovation, the House of Representatives, and Senate Economic Development and Tourism Committees, the House Small Business Development Committee, and many others are committed to helping our businesses grow and creating new jobs within the state, assisting urban and rural communities alike to create and enhance local entrepreneurial ecosystems, exemplary workforce training, financial assistance programs, research and technical assistance, and whereas Georgia provides a wide array of services to small businesses, including the Small Business Development Centers, and access to resources and assistance through programs like the Georgia State Small Business Credit Initiative, which is a state lending program that focuses on supporting small businesses and manufacturers. And whereas the number of women-owned businesses in America has soared in recent years, with operations in Georgia among the largest contributors to employment and revenue growth, and top 5 for the most black-owned businesses now, whereas in 2022, Georgia was named the best state in the nation in which to conduct business for the 9th consecutive year. These accolades and others are evident of the achievement of our efforts, as well as a testament to the success we look forward to now. Therefore, I, John Howard, Mayor of the City of Monroe, do hereby proclaim May 1st through 6th, 2023 is Small Business Week in Georgia, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Monroe, Georgia, to be affixed this 11th day of April in the year of our Lord, 2023. John S. Howard, Mayor, City of Monroe, Georgia. Ms. Crawford, I'm going to put this at your seat as you are the DDA representative.
Repeat that, I couldn't hear that.
I'm just going to put that on your seat for the next time you're in as you're the DDA representative.
Okay.
Now, what you've all been waiting for, public comments. Maisha, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Geraldine Reed. Hey, Ms. Reed, thank you for coming.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Geraldine Arnold Reed. I was born and raised in this county, and I have lived and worked in this county all my life. I am an associate minister at New Beginnings Bible Church. I'm a licensed realtor with Thompson Walton Associates. I worked in law enforcement 10 years, and I founded the Tanglewood Outreach Ministry for Kids. It's a nonprofit organization focusing on Jesus, community, and family. And I have to be honest with y'all. I have seen a lot of injustices in this county because this is where I'm from. As a matter of fact, I've been here 70 years. Today, I'm here because of the housing crisis in Walton County. People that have lived in this county all their lives are being forced out of their home. I am witnessing a lot of injustice. 2 months ago, a young mother of 2 approached me. She said her landlord had put her out and that she and her 2 kids were living in the back seat of her car It was a little small navy blue Honda. 3 weeks ago, a young man, last name Etchison, called our office looking for affordable housing. He too was being asked to move out because his landlord was selling his house. And he too had nowhere to go. And there has to be a solution for this. People are hurting. People are suffering. Miss Anderson, an elderly lady from Social Circle, been living in her house for years. Her rent was $800 a month. And right now, the owner went up $1,600. All she gets is $200 a month from Social Security. How is she going to take care of herself and have a place to live too? Again, something has to be done with this housing crisis. Citizens of Monroe, I have been praying for our city. And honestly, God said you need to speak out for my children. I am here tonight speaking out. How can we help homeless families in this county? How can all families afford decent housing to raise their kids, their grandkids? My grandson worked hard, bought his first brand new house, but he was priced out in the county he was born and raised in. So he had to go all the way, almost a month to sell it to buy a house. One of my church members, her daughter, bought her first new house, but she couldn't buy one in Walton County where her family was born and raised at. She had to go to a whole new county. And something has to be done. Not only would I like to meet with Mayor Howell, but I'm asking to meet with all local church ministers, city officials, housing director authorities, and most importantly, some of the homeless families that live in this county. We got people living in tents in the woods. These people are hurting. They can't find nowhere to move, and it's not fair, especially a county that you've been born and raised in. I spoke to our mayor last year, and I told him how bad the housing situation was, and that we need affordable housing for families. And he said that they had met with Habitat for Humanity, and Habitat for Humanity was going to build 2 houses, and that's good, Mayor. I promise you, that's good. That's great. But I told him, we need way more than that. I mean, people don't have nowhere to go. And it's just getting to the point where we gotta do something. We don't know what to do. I mean, what can we do? But I would like to ask somebody, do y'all know what we can do? Do y'all have any answers? I mean,
I'll let you finish, and then I'll tell you.
okay. But, you know, like, I have been talking and asking so many people that I thought could help us, but it's like they really don't care. And I'm being honest. I know it's happening everywhere, the gerrymandering, but it is also something called racist gerrymandering. And you can see it in our county, y'all. And I know y'all don't want to see it and don't want to admit it, but we see it. And it's not fair. And then in closing, I just want to say that this just can't not be business as usual. It can't. Too many people are hurting, and something has to be done. Because, like, for real, if nothing is done, I'm being honest, we got to do something. I mean, we will organize, we will protest, and we will march. Bring the spotlight to Walton County to show them how people are being treated in a town that they were born and raised in, now just being pushed out. And it's just the truth. So I thank y'all for allowing me to speak this evening, and I'll be looking forward to hearing from someone.
Thank you, Ms. Reed, and I'm more than happy to meet with you anytime. And I'll tell you, that's affordable housing is not only a crisis all across the country. It is hit Georgia very, very hard. It's hit us probably harder than just about any state in the union over the last year to 2. Met with Rope Roberts, who was formerly with Georgia Power, but he's an economic development professional, and we met with him yesterday. Social Circle, Loganville, Walton County, and our planning team met with him too. He showed math of what our average jobs pay and how that extrapolates to what's really considered affordable. And you're right, it doesn't work. So now what do we do? And he's going to be studying this. We're looking at probably a 6 to 9 month process before he can come back and say, this is what I recommend in various parts of the county. So I think you have my number. If not, it's on this pen. You come grab that, you call me, and we'll set up a time to meet. I'm glad to see you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Chris Collin. Chris, they were applauding for her.
And Mayor,
Understand, this is, I'm going to be.
Mayor, hang on one second. Just point of clarification for all of those that have signed up for public comment. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Thank you.
And that's a.
I know, Ms. Reed, I gave you a little extra minute, but I was enthralled. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that was very, very serious, and it actually makes me feel a little silly having to come up here and address this issue in front of the city council. My name is Chris Collin. I'm the owner of LR Burger and Strange Taco Bar in downtown Monroe. I'm also a member of the DDA, and I'm also a citizen of downtown Monroe. Last month at the city council meeting, concerns about businesses being able to sell alcohol to customers for the purpose of walking around downtown area and attending city events were brought up. As a resident and a business owner in the city, this notion was surprising and caused concern for my business and livelihood. The city of Monroe has always gone out of its way to make my business feel welcome, but I'm extremely concerned about the path that the city would head down if the council starts making decisions that would directly affect our business and livelihood without any evidence that that decision that is being made would make Monroe a better place. Since we opened our doors at LR Burger, we have had 0 incidents of customers acting inappropriately inside or outside of our store because of being served alcohol. And as far as I'm aware, this is to be true of a majority of the businesses in downtown Monroe. Inflation is at an all-time high. Housing is at an all-time high. Labor costs are at an all-time high. And food costs are at an all-time high. The restaurant industry is facing more challenges than ever in history. We are still reeling from the effects of COVID and what the shutdown has done to our economy. This is not the time to take away revenue sources from businesses that are still recovering from a global pandemic. I always tell my employees we want to be good neighbors in the community. And when I make a decision as a business owner, I look at the effects that it will have on the entire community, not just how it will affect my business. I did some research on how the alcohol tax dollars are spent in this community, and I found out that over $500,000 a year in liquor tax that we collect in our businesses go to fund the police force. I'm fearful that by trying to make the city a safer place, you're going to do quite the opposite. The question last week was asked, what kind of example are we setting for our children? Well, I'd like to answer that question. I would say that we're setting a responsible example, that we're showing our children how to act when they're given the freedoms that they deserve to make good choices for themselves. Finally, Strange Taco Bar is hosting a cornhole tournament this weekend on Lumpkin Street with Southern Brewing Company. This event is to raise money for Monroe Area High School baseball, also for the middle school team. This event raises thousands of dollars for the local high school to help improve facilities for students, to help students that cannot afford to buy gear to play baseball to get the equipment that they need. This ordinance that was questioned directly affects events like these. Events like this are why we chose to open our doors in Monroe. It's this sense of community that we desired. This ordinance that's being questioned is what makes this event possible. And I encourage you all to be good neighbors and consider the full effects of what you may see as a small decision and how this will affect the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Ms. Cooper, Monique Cooper? Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Monique Cooper, and I've been in Walton County. I'm not from here and born here like a lot of people. I'm from up north. But I've been in Walton County about 15 years now. I started out in Loganville and ended up out here in Monroe. I have an outreach ministry. It's called Restoration for You Ministries Incorporated. I'm a nonprofit outreach ministry since 2006.
I'm glad you're here.
I have been housing homeless young people, older people, it didn't matter. I have been in a position where I've actually housed them within myself because I know from the calls that I receive just how critical the housing crisis has gotten and has changed just since the pandemic. And it's to the place now where I no longer can house within my own self, but I'm here to ask if there's anything that we can look at being done, because it's not just hurting now where it used to be calls of a young man or a young woman. Now the calls are coming from whole families. They're living in the backyards of abandoned houses. I mean, with husband, wife, children, and it's gotten to be so overwhelming that it's grieving. And whenever I look at my website and I get a email, they're constantly saying, I'm here in Walton County. I've gone to a certain organization. They put me in a hotel for a few days. But last week I got a call from a young woman who had a 10-year-old son who has COVID, has asthma, was on oxygen, and she had to be out of the hotel that next day, and she had nowhere to go. I said, well, try fit. I've been there. Well, have you tried? I've been, and I'm just to the point where I want to say that I come and I support Ms. Reed because I also have been blessed to be able to work with Ms. Reed. And in the past, I've been able to help people transition into some of the apartments that they manage. But now there's nowhere. Everything has tripled. The economy is out of control. And it's not just hitting down and out young people. I am seeing whole families of different races and colors that are calling because we don't see it, but they're here. I mean, me and my daughter picked up an old gentleman a year and a half ago that was sitting on the steps of the courthouse here. It went live. We reached out and asked for help. We found somebody to take that old gentleman in, and we found out that he was related to someone very, very high in this, and it just grieved my soul. I'm housing a young man now whose aunt is the mayor of Snellville in my personal home because there's a need out here. And I just wanted to come and just share the part of what I'm seeing. I'm working hard to find any kind of funding, anything I can do, but the need is so great. I don't have any more room in my house. I just took in a young lady and an 11-day-old baby. She was sitting out in a car because she had got evicted. So I've done the work. I don't talk the talk, I walk the walk. So I'm asking if we have the heart of God, we've got to begin to see what we can put our heads together to do. I encourage people to double up, triple up in families, anything we can do. But I don't want to hold everyone, but I'm grateful you allowed me to speak.
Thank you.
I just wanted to put that out there and ask people pray for answers.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Cooper. I don't have any more pens left,
Oh,
but
no.
if you get with Ms. Reed, we'll get together.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Sadie Krozik.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, Sadie.
I just want to say I'm very encouraged by the local leaders that are standing up in this cause for helping the unhoused and talking about housing. Thank you. Thank you, guys. That's what makes this community so great. I wanted to speak tonight as a citizen who lives in the entertainment district or adjacent to it and in downtown. And because the alcohol ordinances and the entertainment district were brought up last month, I wanted to speak towards it as a citizen. and just remind all of you and thank you that, to me, the ordinances we have are an example of great local government, because the idea that they needed to be updated and changed came from the citizens. It came from our local businesses. It came from people saying, this is a way that we could enhance the business mix, recruit new businesses, and support activities in a safer way in our downtown. And so, if you all remember, we talked about it for over a year. We presented it, we discussed it, we analyzed it, we looked at other communities, we asked for expertise from outside of Monroe and locally. And after that full year of really working through it and coming up with the best version for our city, it was passed unanimously with full support from the community. And so I'm really proud of that. I love our town. I love our downtown. We have a long way to go, but I love what we've built so far, and part of that success is a result of good local government, where we listen to the community and we make policies that support their aims and their goals. So living in the entertainment district and seeing it, we have had no issues. It's enhanced our experience as a family and this community, and I'm very thankful for it, and want to encourage you guys to continue good local government that listens to its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. Rita Dickinson. Hey, Rita, come on up. No, you didn't. I thought that was just carrying on your signature. Sorry. Tommy Fountain.
Mayor and City Council and city officials and citizens of Monroe. I'm Tommy Fountain, Senior Pastor at 1025 Church here in our city. And I want to speak to encourage you to repeal the open container law. And I want to share with you why. Number one, I believe it's a bad image. We have 6 grandchildren, and one of the joys that we've had in Monroe is bringing our children, even in the evenings, to downtown Monroe. But it puts me in a very tough situation sometimes because of the things that they see as well. I not only think it's a bad image, I think it's a bad influence. If I were to look at some statistics that, and I'm going to give you guys some of this in just a moment, I did not want to give it to you first because you'd be looking at it, not listening. At least that's how my church people do me. But 17.5% of our high school students in Georgia report drinking alcohol, and 6.2% reported binge drinking in the past 30 days. Most recent data shows that 18% of our Georgia high schoolers had their first drink other than a few sips before the age of 13. I could just go on and on with statistics that could share with you exactly why I'm against that setting. I not only think it's a bad influence, I just think it's a bad idea. I wish you'd just come and stay with me for a couple of weeks. Hang out with me. Go to the homes. Go to the settings. Go to the hospitals and see what we deal with in ministry. And almost every bit of it is alcohol and drug related. And so it's a bad idea for me. I see it's going down a slippery slope. I'm already hearing rumors about the liquor store coming into our city. I'm already hearing rumors about decriminalization of marijuana. And if we don't stop now, where are we headed? Our nation is in great trouble. I'm convinced it's more spiritual than anything else. Here's what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 8:9. But take care that this right of yours, that it does not somehow become a stumbling block to the weak. And so for me, it's a terrible idea. I grew up with a dad who was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Our oldest son is the campus minister at UGA for the Baptist Collegiate Ministry. Our youngest son is pastor at First Baptist Church, Beaufort. Stephen says, if you're a fountain, you're either a preacher or a drunk. Now, we laugh about that, but I determined to break that trend, that setting in our family. And so I sought the Lord's help. I will say this to you in closing. Proverbs, and I'm going to get into preacher mode, and I'll stop because I'm going to give you these. Proverbs chapter 20 says, wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging. Whosoever deceived thereby with is not wise. I'm more concerned about the spiritual life, and we invest literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's right, from our church into the community and into the schools. And you know that. And we do it because we want to set that good example. I encourage you to repeal the open container of alcohol. And can I give these to you guys?
Yeah,
That you look
absolutely.
at them?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
And while he's doing that, let me just tell you, two of the most respected people I know are Sadie Crozek and Tommy Fountain. It shows how we come at this from all different sides. It also shows that we can disagree without being disagreeable, and I appreciate the focus from this sweet lady and fine gentleman who've just spoken. You'd be the fine gentleman, she'd be the sweet lady.
What I'm giving you is the last resolution was in 2021 from the Board of Baptist. I've written the last two, and I just want you to know that's where my heart is.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ms. Lisa Anderson? Hey, Lisa.
All for to be here tonight and speak.
I can. I'm not sure anybody else. You want to lower it a little bit?
I am Lisa Anderson. I can holler if I need to. How about stand this way? Okay. I was born and raised here in Monroe. I have owned 2 businesses here, and I serve on your downtown development authority. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the Monroe Downtown Development Authority. We have several board members here, and I'd like to read you a letter. The subject is Section 636, City of Monroe. Dear Mayor Howard and members, please accept this letter on behalf of the City of Monroe Downtown Development Board as an indication of our strong support for maintaining the current city alcohol ordinances that have been instrumental to our board's success in bringing quality restaurants and retailers to our downtown area over the last few years. Section 636C of the ordinance for the Monroe Historic Downtown Entertainment District allows for properly sold and monitored open containers in our downtown district, which, to the best of our knowledge, has been handled correctly and encourages patrons of our downtown area to support multiple business owners in a responsible manner. This also allows for our restaurant and business owners to share in the revenue generated by the many visitors to our vibrant downtown, as well as increasing our sales tax revenue to help support services for our citizens. Our board's primary goal is to direct and help recruit quality business to our downtown community. To the best of our knowledge and per conversations with many of our downtown restaurant and business owners and local law enforcement, there has been no negative impact or issues experienced or reported related to the misuse of alcohol sold downtown since the ordinance was enacted. This is certainly also a positive reflection of the quality and character of our amazing local business and restaurant owners. They have proved that they are fully capable and responsible enough to monitor the activity and behavior of their customers in their respective businesses. Thank you for your attention to this matter and for continuing to support the current alcohol ordinances in place today. We feel very confident that if there are any issues and situations that ever occur, our downtown business owners and law enforcement will address them properly. Sincerely, Lisa Anderson, Chairman, Monroe DDA. We hope you'll strongly consider leaving this alcohol ordinance in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Anyone? Go ahead. Daniel South. Thank you for coming in, Daniel.
Hi, guys. My name is Daniel South. I am a resident in downtown Monroe in the entertainment district. We're currently building a home, and we own the restaurant, The Row. in the old Mike Cash building. I first want to address the gap in level of importance, talking about business development when there are far greater issues of families being on the streets out there. Probably a lesson to be learned in there that these are happening in the same meeting. So take that for what you will. But I'm here to talk about not repealing the ordinance. My family and I has made a sizable investment in this town, and we were attracted here by the camaraderie and the togetherness that this community presented. Our business, as you guys have painfully watched us grow over the past 3 years, is employing over 80 people currently, mostly local, in age ranges from 16 to 70. And while I am not saying that the business goes away if the ordinance does, but it does have an influence on attraction and bringing people into the city. I do think that I've gotten to know Brother Tommy over the past year, and I, too, understand the problems with addiction. That I just have to say, I feel like we don't have enough good examples. And a lot of times when things are hidden, that becomes the problem. And alcohol is not the enemy. A lot of times the demon or the devil that's living inside of us, alcohol is just a tool. So I think we need more good examples that it can be maintained responsibly in public and in the light, that it is not the issue. So I respectfully ask the council to consider not repealing the thing. And I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. South. Chad Draper. Chad here? Hey, Chad, how are you? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. My name is Chad Draper. I've been a building owner in downtown Monroe since 1999. I believe that to reinvest in a community, an organization, a city, or yourself for that matter, change must start at the core. And the core in the case of downtown Monroe is downtown. So I believe that the city has great momentum starting at its core, and the hope is that those positive changes continue to spread throughout the city. I'm aware that not all of the changes that have been made so far help all people in the community, but I do believe that if we work together, we are headed in the right direction. Just like Chris and Daniel said, I feel bad up here talking about this ordinance when, you know, homelessness is certainly a much bigger issue, and I would volunteer and love to be a part of helping that in any way that I can. So in the 24 years that I've been invested here, the city has largely moved in a forward direction. When I first began developing here 24 years ago, flower pots, benches, trash cans, bike racks, perpendicular signage, all of that was not allowed in downtown. It was because of the ordinances that were in place at that time. If you stand at La Boheme Salon and look towards Coffee Camper now, that view down that sidewalk is featured in many print advertisements, digital advertisements. I see it all the time in different magazines. And my point there being is that by being less restrictive in those ordinances concerning those issues, it opened up a whole new world of people wanting to be downtown and get their feet on the sidewalk, which is what helps make this community so strong. So it is in my strong opinion that the ordinance that allows for the responsible legal consumption of alcohol within the entertainment district is a positive direction for the city, much like those other ordinances that were in place. So I do strongly encourage the city leadership to keep us on a path of forward momentum concerning this ordinance and others as they come up in the future. In my experience, the strict prohibition of alcohol has much more of a negative impact than a more responsible approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Draper. Greg Thompson? Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Appreciate you letting me address you tonight. Greg Thompson, I'm a citizen of Monroe, and I also have a business in the downtown overlay entertainment district. First of all, I want to thank you guys for what you do. I've sat where you've sat, and sometimes it's a hard job. But I want you to think back, and I'll try not to duplicate what folks have said, but I want you to think back even as not that far from the mid-2000s, when our downtown closed at 5:30. On Wednesdays, closed at 2:30. And on Sunday, you can line up 3 tractor trailers side by side and drive down from here to the museum and not hit a parked car. When I was elected mayor in 2006, that was one of my platform agendas, is to keep people downtown and not start shopping on the west end of the city. That's where the growth was starting to happen. We worked long and hard to get the town going in the right direction, and thank God we revitalized the Downtown Development Authority, which did a lot of the legwork for the city and the council. Sadie was a big part of this. She started bringing concerts, first Friday night concerts, and that started bringing people downtown. They started getting these vacant buildings occupied. There was 3 restaurants downtown when I started. Now look at it. This town is a destination. This entertainment district is a destination. It didn't happen overnight. And if you repeal this alcohol ordinance, it won't die overnight. But it will continue to affect the people that put their hard-earned money into coming to downtown with the promise that the mayor and council and the DDA and anybody else would help them move into their business and not detract from it. I just ask you guys to really think about what you're doing. This is an important vote. I'm not promoting alcohol, I'm promoting the downtown entertainment district of the city of Monroe, which I've lived here all my life. I certainly appreciate it. I certainly hope you think about what you're voting for and all these folks that it's going to affect. And it will affect them in one way or the other, where they have to lay off a couple of people. Might even have to shut down. Some of the folks may not get people in. These concerts and car shows and the flower shows and the chocolate walks, and I can't name everything that they do. Bring people downtown to go in and shop in these businesses that they would never come into, and giving them all the tools to work with instead of taking some away that you've already given them is not fair. I certainly appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And Greg, I appreciate your speaking, and I appreciate your service to Monroe. Greg led us through some tough financial times, so thank you. Stephen Scroggins. I don't think you knew you were speaking tonight, Stephen. Where are you? Donna signed you up. Come on.
Thank y'all for having me. My name's Stephen Scroggins. My wife and I operate a business here in the entertainment district. We're also citizens of Walton County. I've been a firefighter, EMT, for 20 years, 8 of which was in Walton County. We operate a business called the Wine Wagon. 80% of our business is done right here in the entertainment district. We go to every function possible that the city offers. It's been a great opportunity for us. Repeal the ordinance for the alcohol, it would basically shut us down. We participate both financially in the city. Get through the city. We're highly regulated. We have oversight from the state. We have oversight from the city. We haven't had any instances of any improper behavior at any of our events. As far as I know, there hasn't been any spike in criminal activity related to this ordinance. One of the things I want to address the concern or addictions or things of that when it comes to individuals. My experience in the fire service is that alcohol is not the #1 killer of people in our communities. It's obesity, it's high blood pressure, it's cardiac disease. We don't shut down restaurants because of that, right? We just allow restaurants to come in that offer better food, that offer better nutrition. So by shutting down operations that sell alcohol, you're not allowing people to participate in something that can be positive. When I say that, it can be done responsibly, because people are not going to stop drinking if you repeal this ordinance. They're going to continue to drink. They just may do it in areas that aren't governed, aren't regulated, okay? So you have the opportunity to control that, to provide oversight. So that's really all I had to say tonight. I hope that you will really consider people like myself that are small business owners, and drawing in people outside of our community. We have a large following on social media. We have people coming from as far away as Salisbury, North Carolina, just to participate in these opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Scroggins. Could you step forward for a minute, please? Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. I called him forward. I make it a point when addressing council to remove, if you're a man, to remove your headwear as a sign of respect. I got caught up, and halfway through, I didn't want to say, hey, take your hat off. So I appreciate his taking it off on his way out. Justin, and I don't want to mess up your name. Is it Nibert? Niebert? Justin, would you like to come forward? Thank you. Don't put a hat on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Nibert. To give you a little backstory, I am new here. I recently just moved to Monroe come January. I bought a house in the, I guess, entertainment district, as I heard it called today. So new information to me. Yeah, I mean, never in my life did I think I would be in Monroe. Never in my life did I think I would be speaking at a city council meeting in Monroe. And that's kind of the beauty of it. I mean, life is very unexpected. I recently graduated college from UGA at Athens, and really just found a home here. I mean, I started working at the Row in downtown Monroe, and just really fell in love with it. Not really only fell in love with the place and what we were doing there, but really the community, the people, and everyone around me. I mean, it is a really unexpected path in my life, and a lot of it has to do with local businesses downtown, and I mean, really just this progression that we are trying to do here, and having to do with that, the open container policy and everything in downtown. And with that, I mean, I really, like I said, just fell in love with this city, the people here, the community, the downtown environment, and I thought it was super cool. I mean, everything from the little rocks that are around town, to the parks, to the concerts, to the parades, to really everything. I mean, I was absolutely mind blown. I mean, this is a city that I've never even visited, driven through, or even heard of until last year. And now I am a resident, and I live right next to where the new Green is opening, so right in the center of downtown, and it's because I'm invested in this place. I mean, I'm invested in the city, I'm invested in the people, and I really just want to see the city progress. I want people to be running around, kids to be running around, families, and people moving here, and people to talk about us. I mean, I'm 23 years old, and I never thought I would be here doing this right now, but this was all right. I don't have papers or anything, but yeah, I mean, it's a really cool town, and I think part of it is, you know, moving forward. And really just some incredible stuff that people have put together, community, family, and it just seems like everyone's just got each other's backs. So with that and the downtown open container policy, I think that is just part of the progression. I mean, it's a really cool thing that I think just adds to the ability to interact, socialize, be a neighbor, be a friend, be part of your family and everything. And I think that's just the direction that we should be continuing to move in with that. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate your coming in. Congratulations on the degree.
Thank you.
Great school. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Moving to business items. As you may have seen on your agendas, we do a city administrator update, then assistant city administrator. We have a couple of requests, and then right under new business, we'll get to discuss, I think, what you all came for. So we'll be moving pretty quickly. City administrator update, Mr. Probst.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick things. Yesterday was actually Lineman Appreciation Day. The electric linemen, we just want to recognize them real quick. They have a very dangerous job. They keep our lights on. They keep us running, all of our businesses and homes. And just want to give a shout out to all of our electric linemen that work on those overhead and even underground lines. So they do a great job for us here in Monroe. Secondly, you'll see a community quality of life survey come out. You may have already seen it posted on social media. We're going to blast it out in a couple different ways. It's been about 4 years since we've done one. It's a very short survey, about 15 questions, a couple little follow-up questions. So if you haven't done that, take the time to do it. It helps us as staff turn things over into policy decisions for each of you. And it's very important that we get as much citizen participation as possible. So we have a lot of people here. If you do that survey, that'll go a long way. So thank you for
And
that.
share it.
And share it.
Once
and
you get it,
keep going.
share
That's
it,
right.
and hopefully others will, more and more people will.
That's all I've got.
Any questions for Logan? Moving to Chris Bailey, Assistant City Administrator report.
Thank you. I'm going to hit a couple of dates here of things that we have coming up. The first thing, that our terminal building is slated for completion May 31st at the airport. Had a meeting April 4th with MGSA, which is the Mid-Georgia Soaring Association, and then talked with several members of our airport advisory committee. We are actually going to name the terminal building after Dr. Kenneth Grubbs. It'll be the Dr. Kenneth Grubbs Terminal Building. They were very excited. He was one of the founding members, if not the founding member of our airport here in Monroe. Our town green that has been mentioned is slated for completion July 11th. So we are getting closer every day. Looking back, our car show from March 18th, we had a little over 19,000 people in attendance. We had over 503 registered vehicles at that show, so by far the biggest we've ever had. Our first Friday night concert will be May 5th at 7 p.m. Farmers Market starts that following Saturday morning, May 6th, and will go all the way through October. And then we will have a reading here coming up for the Great American Cleanup Week, which is April 23rd through the 29th, which coincides with Georgia Cities Week. April 29th, while we have lots of volunteers in the room, will be our community cleanup event. So I expect to see everyone there that morning, 9 a.m. here at City Hall, and we'll disperse throughout the city. Thanks for coming ahead of time. And then we had a gentleman speak, I believe, 2 meetings ago about the curve on Marable Street that drops off in the ravine. We have Keck and Wood right now drawing up construction plans to get a guardrail and other safety items in place to help protect that and address that issue that was brought to us. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Bailey? Chris, Kona Ice going to be here that day?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hope it's hot.
What does the largest volunteer team, something special for them?
I mean, we can come up with something. I mean, chances are I'll probably jump up on the back of a truck and give everybody directions and motivate everybody and get us going for the day, and then meet back for Kona Ice and, I don't know, maybe give away a little something. We will have shirts for the first ever how many volunteers show up, and I have leftover. So, yeah, fun things.
We really hope we run out of shirts.
Absolutely. I generally promote myself as being there and running the show as being the motivation factor.
So come that day and you get to see Chris.
There you go.
Okay, moving to Public Works Department request. Danny.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris mentioned the Great American Cleanup. We're just asking to designate this week, April 23rd through the 29th, to allow local residents to bring, do some spring cleaning. They can bring their trash out to our facility at the transfer station at 213 Cherry Hill Road. And there will be no charge for the disposal. And we also will be accepting scrap tires. The limit is 10. Anything over 10, there'll be a surcharge for it. And on April 29th, that Saturday, we will be opening the transfer station to accept any cleanup that's going on that day. I take any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Mr. Smith?
You take paint.
No, no paint. No, we can't handle the paint. We can't take it paint. And also mattresses, it may be an issue also.
Danny, is it the case that you can put cat litter in the paint, and as long as the cat litter has absorbed all the paint, then it can be thrown away?
Yes, you can. It will turn solid, and it can be thrown in trash, or you can flip the can over and let it settle, and you can use it for a primer.
Pro tip.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to waive those fees for American Cleanup Week and to recognize the week from council.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the public hearing, new business, Logan impact fees. Is Ms. Hall here?
Yeah, so Marilyn Hall, Bobby Seals, they did our comp plan for us recently. We're bringing them back in to do the impact fee process, which is a very lengthy process. We've talked about it at a couple different council planning retreats over the last few months. And so this really kicks it off officially and formally. We have to jump through a few hoops with the state. So tonight we have the public hearing and the presentation by Marilyn. Thank you.
Thanks, Logan. It's good to be back in Monroe. Tonight, I'll try to be brief. I know that there are a lot of people here that probably don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to hear about it anyway. Sorry, guys. Tonight, we're going to I will be presenting an overview of impact fees, talking about regulations and methodologies that are allowed in the state of Georgia, the recommended approach that we're taking, and some next steps. First off, in 1990, the Georgia Development Impact Fee Act, which we call DEFA, was enacted into law. It made impact fees possible in the state of Georgia. And impact fees, if you don't know what they are one-time fees charged to land developers to help defray the costs of expanding capital facilities to serve new growth. DEFA enables local governments to charge new development for a proportionate share of infrastructure capacity that it requires. But the Act also places restrictions on the categories of capital facilities for which new development can be charged. It also establishes rules under which impact fees must be calculated, collected, expended, and accounted for. And the idea is to ensure that communities have adequate public facilities as they grow and that growth is planned and orderly. And DEFA also establishes a specific procedure for adoption and administration of impact fees. And that's partly what I'm going over tonight. DEFA has a list of 20 definitions, but I just want to go over a couple key points. First of all is capital improvements. Impact fees are not for operations, but are for facilities with a lifespan of 10 years or older. So an example would be anything related to a fire station or a fire truck that tends to last decades. You can use it for heavy equipment like a fire truck, but you can't use it for a police car because they don't last 10 years. Additional demand. There must be additional demand made. You cannot charge an impact fee if a redevelopment results in lower demand. The present value, the fee must be based on current value, not the projected future cost, nor the past acquisition cost. Project improvements are not included in impact fees. These generally are provided by new development, and these are things like internal roads, sidewalks, drainage, water and sewer within the development that just serve the residents of that community. The proportionate share, it means that the impact fee needs to have a rational nexus to the service demand of the new development. You can't just create impact fees. It's very regulated how they're calculated and collected. And finally, they have to be system improvements which serve the general public and not just the new residents. All right, DEFA allows for limited types of capital improvements to be funded with impact fees. They are restricted by the types of facilities. The types of facilities that you can collect impact fees for include water-related facilities such as water supply, distribution, treatment, things like that. Also wastewater collection, treatment, and disposal. Transportation facilities like roads, streets, bridges, right-of-ways, traffic signals, landscaping, things like that, and any component of state and federal highways. And stormwater collection, retention, detention, and treatment, flood control, things like that. You can also charge impact fees for parks, recreation services, space, libraries, things like that, and also public safety, including police, fire, and EMS. You will need to adopt an ordinance for the impact fees, as well as a capital improvement element will need to be added as an amendment to the comprehensive plan. DEFA requires an impact fee advisory committee that has between 5 and 10 people, half of which have to be from the real estate or development or building industry. And there needs to be 2 public meetings, and this is the first one. The next public meeting will be to present the actual impact fees, level of services, the final product. All right, on to the calculations. DEFA provides general parameters for calculating the impact fees. I already talked about proportionate share. You cannot charge more than actual demand. The developer can't be charged for 2 acres of park space if their development would only need 1. If a public facility is only for a portion of the community, then the impact fee can only be utilized in that area. For example, if there's flood control or a stormwater facility, a service area for that would not necessarily be the whole city, it would be a drainage basin. And then the level of service, LOS, the level of service standard must be identified in the capital improvements element. Excess level of service can be used for new development, but new development cannot pay for correcting existing deficiencies. What this means is if the community desires 10,000 square feet of open space per housing unit, but they only have 5,000, you can't charge the new guys for 15,000 to make up the difference. It has to come from other funding sources. And the fee must be based on actual cost for recoupment of existing capacity in today's dollars, or a reasonable estimate of cost if it's to be built in the future. But again, in today's dollars. So a police substation that cost $500,000 20 years ago, but has 25% excess capacity, can have that value in today's dollars applied as the basis for the impact fee. Additionally, if a new police station is going to be needed in the future, the estimated cost can be included in the fee, but it has to be calculated in today's dollars, not the future dollars. Finally, the impact fee calculation must include credit for future contributions made by the new development towards system improvements. This can include taxes, assessments, user fees, intergovernmental transfers, things like that, and those would be things that would be used to pay for system improvements. For example, if a developer pays an impact fee for a new residential home, that home will pay property taxes or user fees that are anticipated to be available to pay for system improvements, and the developer should be given credit for that in today's dollars. Nobody's going to pay for anything twice, is the point of that one. So that was a lot of discussion for the calculations. There are three general approaches or methodologies to the impact fees. The first is the buy-in approach, where the fee charged simply recuperates investments already made by the community, and the impact fee is collected to cover existing debt that may have been taken out to fund these facilities or to refurbish the assets. The next approach is the incremental cost approach that only covers new facilities. It only applies the impact fees to new facilities as proposed in the capital improvements element, which is why that element is such an important amendment to your comprehensive plan. The portion of any project in the capital improvements element that is used to increase the level of service for existing residents and business owners must be excluded. The value must be converted into current dollars, I already said that. But like the buy-in approach, the incremental approach can be used for debt, but it's for new debt. And it excludes any portion of the debt that will be used for operations, personnel training, routine periodic maintenance. It's still just capital facilities, the capital itself, the capital facility itself. And the resulting fee would most likely be higher in the incremental cost than the buy-in. And construction cost inflation usually results in a higher system improvement value at the same level of service. The last general methodology, no surprise, is a hybrid of the two. And it would allow for paying off existing debt if current facilities have excess capacity, and to also collect for expansion of capacity to maintain the level of service over time. The resulting fee would be a weighted average of the two approaches, and additional accounting would be needed by the city every year to ensure proper expenditures and record keeping. Finally, DEFA does not require a single methodology for all fees charged. Some facilities might have excess capacity and debt and are suited for the buy-in approach. Others may need immediate capacity increases to serve existing and new residents. In this case, an incremental approach that excludes the value associated with the level of service deficiency would be appropriate. And then finally, facilities that have both excess capacity and future growth needs would use a hybrid approach. We recommend the incremental approach for this project, using a citywide service area for everything but stormwater. Stormwater, it makes more sense to use the drainage basins as the basis for the impact fees. And we suggest incremental approach because it will be utilized as, it provides more realistic cost for new development based on new system improvements rather than a buy-in approach on existing assets in today's dollars. Also, the incremental approach provides for easier accounting, as all funds must go towards a project or a debt instrument for that specific project. It will also encourage the city of Monroe to build projects in a timely fashion, and it importantly provides flexibility to move projects based in time on actual impact fee collections. There's a lot on this slide, but I'm not going to talk about it. The purpose of this slide is to let you know that we're going to be collecting a lot of data, looking at reports, looking at master plans, and this is needed to establish the existing level of service and the cost per unit. And according to DEFA, we need to use the same data that was used in the comprehensive plan, which is great, but we didn't collect it to the detail that we will need for the impact fees. So I don't need to talk about each of these. I put it in the presentation so staff knows to expect a call or an email from us to get information from you. We plan to come down and actually interview staff in person and get a good idea on current level of service, asset values, and all that, so we can do those calculations for you. So the fee calculation, basically, to arrive at the impact fees, we determined the current level of service by taking the current inventory and dividing it by a level of service parameter, which is on the next slide. I'll get to that. The capacity needed for new growth is determined by multiplying projected demand by the adopted level of service standard. And the system improvement cost, the impact fee itself, or the basis for the impact fee, still a little bit more calculations need to be done on it, is it's created by taking the system improvement cost by needed capacity and divide that by the level of service standards. The calculations are pretty simple. It's the collecting the data and knowing what to apply where is where it gets really complicated. But not our first rodeo. We got this. Okay, the adopted level of service standards will be made part of the CIE as an amendment to the current comp plan. It will be presented to the public for comment as part of this whole process. And the resulting level of service goal may be set as, the resulting level of service goal may be set at the current existing level of service, some sort of state or national standard or best practice, or uniquely selected level of service based on public feedback. And then once it's selected, the impact fees will be based on maintaining that adopted level of standard moving forward. So, level of service standards, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about level of service standards. For libraries, we are proposing to look at square footage in the library and the number of books per dwelling unit. For fire protection, it would be square feet and number of heavy vehicles per day-night population. Day-night population it refers to the number of people, including workers, who are present during normal business hours, which is different from the population that's here at night. So it considers both the daytime and the nighttime population in making that level of service. Because obviously fire protection, EMS, police, it serves both, not just the evening population. Let's see, EMS square feet of facility for day-night population, same with police. And then roads, street, bridges, and signals and other transportation improvement would be a level of service standard D based on new trips generated. We chose D because that is what the Georgia Department of Transportation recommends and uses for theirs. Is there should we add anything to that one, Bobby? Why a level D?
That's the state standard, and if you desire, when we go through the public process, they want a better standard, they can do that. But if there's deficiencies, that's going to put a tax burden on existing property. We can talk about that in detail.
Yeah. This is kind of like introduction to the impact fees. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty later. Parks, recreation, open space would be acres per dwelling unit, and for stormwater would be impervious area. A local person asked me about the museum and if impact fees could be charged for the museum. We will look into that. It could be considered part of recreation or cultural facilities, as well as maybe a library. We're going to look into that. We think it'd be a great idea because your museum is so important. And next steps. We are going to start data collection tomorrow when I make some phone calls and send some emails. The advisory committee will meet for the first time in May, once it's appointed. And we will have impact fee calculations in June, an impact report, capital improvements element draft, and an ordinance in July. And if you remember, for the comprehensive plan, it had to be transmitted to the regional commission for their approval. This process is just like the comprehensive plan. So in July, these are like milestones, goal setting, right? July, the goal is to transmit the capital improvements element, which is an amendment to the comprehensive plan, to the regional commission. They'll approve it, and in September, you all will be able to adopt the impact fees. That's my presentation.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Here to answer questions if you need.
Do we have any questions from council? Okay, I'll declare this portion of the meeting open for public input. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of that methodology, which would be the incremental fee approach? Hearing none, is there anyone who would like to speak against this impact fee methodology? I'll declare that portion of the meeting closed. And we will visit, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in. Thank you, Marilyn. And then we'll move to new business. This is the discussion of the alcohol ordinance. And before we get in to the discussion, Leanne, where's Leanne? Can you come up for a moment, please? I know you've heard from a lot of folks, and I want to ask a couple of questions that we had talked about in advance. Between 2017, before this entertainment district and the cups and was all put into effect, do you know the difference between property taxes, alcohol tax, then and now?
Yes, in 2017, property taxes were $3,429,385. 2022, the close of that year was $4,492,399.
Okay, so a 30% increase. Building rehab projects, 2017 to 2022?
Yes, I calculated from our downtown, which would be drastically impacted by the entertainment district. If you look at 2017 numbers, from the growth from 2018 to 2022, we had 25 rehab projects with a total of $9 million.
Thank you.
Investment in downtown. We also had, that investment created 218 jobs for downtown as well.
Thank you. And event attendance?
Event attendance rounded out in 2022 at 200,000. Between 2018 and 2022, we had 448,000 people in downtown Monroe at our events.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll open this up for discussion with the council.
I'll start the discussion since I brought it up last month, and I talked about it last month with some of the reasons, and I'm not going to try to rehash everything we discussed earlier. I would say, first of all, I appreciate the people that are here tonight. I appreciate people that take an interest in the community and speak for it. I would, and so I appreciate all the people that are here tonight, regardless of what you spoke on. Particularly those people that spoke on housing tonight. I just have to say that I hope that, Ms. Cooper and Ms. Reed, we can get the kind of support for the housing needs that we're talking about, that people are speaking about tonight as far as being able to carry alcohol on the streets. I don't think the two go together, but I do think it's important we talk about both. But let's just talk about the, carrying alcohol on the streets. I hear the statistics that Leanne brought out just now. I hear the statistics that have been mentioned in the newspaper from Mayor Howard. And I don't think anyone's going to say that over the last 5 years that all this growth, the 30% growth in one place and the 50% growth in the other place or whatever, is due to people being able to carry alcohol on the streets. I think this city has done many other things over the last 5 years, or actually the last 10 years. I've been on the council now for this is my 12th year, and prior to joining the council, I served on the DDA. And you're right, at that point in time, 13, 14, 15 years ago, we were hurting downtown. Downtown was not what it needed to be. It started growth, about that point in time, and we've continued to grow ever since, with the possible exception of during the pandemic when things slowed down some. But other than that, things have been growing for the last 10 years, not just for the last 5. I do not doubt that there are some businesses that are glad that we have this thing because it helps their particular business. I question that it helps the businesses whether or not they can stay open and make money. I look at it from the standpoint of one thing that Mr. Fountain talked about earlier, when he talked about some of the statistics that go into, problems with alcohol. One of the most alarming statistics that I read with alcohol was about young people. When I read the statistic that a high percentage of deaths of people under 30, a high percentage of deaths of people under 30 is due to alcohol consumption. That's an alarming number to me. I mean, that's an alarming statistic to me. It is important that we as a city take actions that are good examples for the young people of the community. That's where I'm coming from. The social media over the last couple of weeks in preparation for this meeting, have been a lot of comments made on social media, many of them directed toward me. Some of those, comments said I'm not supportive of local businesses. Could be not further from the truth. The local restaurants that serve alcohol are restaurants that I go to on a regular basis. I have guests from out of town that come in and go to a regular basis. I was in a therapy session in Athens yesterday, as a matter of fact, and one of the therapists that was talking about taking his wife out with her favorite things she liked to go out for were tacos and margaritas. And my recommendation to him was he needed to come to Monroe and go to Strange Taco because they had the best tacos that I knew of, with their fish and shrimp was my favorite. They might like a different one. I'm always supporting. We have people from out of town visit with us. Just recently, we had someone from out of town. We went to the Row. I love the new dining room that they've got at the Row. I like all the businesses locally, and that's the ones I support. I just want us to continue to support the businesses. What I don't want us to do is for the city to take actions that promote or encourage the consumption of alcohol. And I believe that when we passed the ordinance 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was, that was a promotion and encouragement to people to drink alcohol. I think that's wrong. I think it sets a bad example for our young people. I think it sets a bad example of us as a city. Plus, it's just a concern to me when we do that. I'm not looking at what individuals do. People that want to drink responsibly on their own, whether it's in businesses, in restaurants, in their homes, wherever, that's their personal decisions to make. But as a city, we have a responsibility. Someone mentioned tonight there's a greater need for obesity as issues rather than alcohol. I don't doubt that. Very well may be. The thing is, we as a government, whether it's a local, state, or federal government, have alcohol laws that govern what we do with alcohol, and they're there for a reason. Alcohol is treated separately from all other food groups. Later tonight, we'll have an alcohol license come to us from a new restaurant that's coming in. We have to approve every license for every business that comes in like that for alcohol. Alcohol is treated differently, and we have a responsibility as a city government to do the responsible things as far as alcohol is concerned. Not to stop people from drinking, but just not to promote or encourage that. And that's where I'm coming from on this. And I think that it's just hard for me to understand how watching someone walk down the street with an alcoholic beverage in a cup, or watching people line up at a concert on city property at a city-sponsored function, lined up to buy alcohol, is a good example for our young people. And so I would encourage all the council members to think about their responsibility to the youth of the group. And let's go forward with that. That's my premise, and I will later introduce a motion to that effect after the discussion.
May I be recognized, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, please.
Well, the last time this came up, I stated unequivocally that I am adamantly opposed to making any changes in our current ordinance. And I want to keep, I said then, I say now, I want to keep this discussion rational. This is not about morality. It's about facts and business and people's rights and ability to enjoy themselves as long as they do not infringe upon the rights and freedoms of other people. So Larry Bradley's my good friend, Tommy Fountain's my good friend, but I just disagree with y'all about the impact that this ordinance has on alcoholics and problem drinkers. I have had alcoholics in my family. I have two of my closest friends in life are alcoholics, and they They both are on the wagon. I hope they stay there. It affects everybody. But this is the thing. It sort of takes me back to when I was in, I think, the second grade, and I had a teacher who, her way of dealing with kids who misbehaved is she just punished the whole class. So we had like 35 kids in the class, and if one or two kids misbehaved, nobody got to go out for recess. If any of you are old enough to remember what recess was. That's not fair. And I think that's what we're talking about here. Why do we repeal this ordinance and say that people who are responsible and law-abiding can't walk around the entertainment district with a to-go cup because there's a possibility that a handful of people might engage in inappropriate behavior? That just doesn't make any sense. And I said last month, you know, Monroe is not, we're not talking about Bourbon Street in New Orleans. We just haven't had these wild, crazy, out-of-control incidents. And Mr. Garrett said, well, why, he asked Chief Watts, why aren't y'all arresting a bunch of people? Well, they're not arresting a bunch of people because there's no reason to. People are not misbehaving. The economic impact of it, is it, and I own one of these restaurants in downtown Monroe. We have struggled through the pandemic. We still struggle. And the margins are razor thin. And you say, well, if we do away with that, that's not going to have any impact. I beg to differ. It will have an impact. I think Mr. Collin stated that well. I think Mr. South stated that well. So I just go back to this, and I think I said this last month. If it ain't broke, why do we need to fix it? We just don't need to fix it. It's not broken. If problems come up, then we will adapt as those things arise. If they don't come up, we don't need to fix it if it ain't broken. And finally, I'll shut up with this. My good friend, Greg Thompson, what he didn't tell you was, who's the guy that you whipped in 2005 in the election? So I was mayor back before that, and we have struggled now for over 2 decades to get to where we are in this downtown. And I think collectively what this community is seeing is that over all that time, you got 3 mayors here, all of these years, who support keeping what we have in place. Not that we're smarter than anybody else, but it tells you that we've got that consistency. We've seen, you know, the really difficult down times. Now we're in something else. Let's don't do anything to jeopardize it. Now, if huge problems develop, if I start seeing stuff like I've seen on Bourbon Street or I've seen on Broadway in Nashville, you might get a different thing out of me. But, because I have no tolerance for that. And no owner of any of these establishments or the wine wagon or anything else that's associated with this is going to put up with drunken fools doing improper things. If you do that, you're going to lose that liquor license. And at my restaurant, that liquor license is in my name. I'm not going to put it in jeopardy. And as I said last month, in the whole 5 years that we've been open, I've had one incident over there with a person who obviously had a problem. And I think he was probably about half drunk when he came in, and it didn't take him long to get all the way. And I threw him out and was about ready to call MPD to come help him get thrown out. So we're just not going to have that. It's not what it's about. We just need to go forward with what we've got in a rational way and not do anything that's going to hurt our downtown businesses and the you know, almost 500,000 people that come to visit because they enjoy all of that, so.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson.
And I'm going to echo somewhat what Mr. Bradley said. And they made a good example that people are coming into Monroe simply just to drink. Those are their words, not mine. When people are coming into your city for a particular reason of just drinking, that's a problem by itself. That's something that they're actually pushing throughout the state, that we can go in Monroe and drink like drunken fools, because what he said is they're not getting drunken in the restaurant. They're getting drunk and they leave in the restaurant. He the one said they would kick him out, not me. So when he kick him out, where he going? He going in the street, and what the next thing he do? He gonna get in his car. So when we got them drinking and driving, what are we actually doing? We actually putting more lives in danger, as opposed to saying that we just having a good time. Good time always, not always, but sometimes leads to tragedy. And drinking and driving can actually be a tragedy. So I don't understand why this city, all of y'all have said, the city have made remarkable changes. The city council, I think, made good changes and tried to be productive and progressive as far as bringing people into the city. I don't necessarily think if we stop people from just walking around like they just getting drunk and do whatever they want, I mean, just cause the city passed an ordinance that you can drink while you downtown in the city. My thing is, if you don't mind them drinking when they downtown in the city, don't give them a ticket when they got open containers in the car. Because that ain't no different to me. See,
No, give the man his time.
see how it's interesting how we push back on people that have their own opinion about addressing stuff. Tonight we got two different issues. The black people are talking about poverty, and the white people are basically down here talking about they want drinking rights. You can call it what you want to call it, but that's what it actually is. You ain't heard one white person say anything about the homeless stuff. We all down here basically about our rights to drink out in the public. That's what we down here talking about. That's what this discussion is about.
That's
Us to
what's
be,
on the agenda, Norman.
I understand that. What you mean? That's what we talking about. So am I not right about that? That's what we talking about? That's what we talking
The
about.
homeless was not on the agenda, but very well presented. I'm just saying.
Can I finish, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My concern is we can make responsible changes that could still be beneficial to everybody that got businesses downtown. We don't have to change everything at one time. I think we can come to agreement with businesses and with this city council that everybody can agree with. It don't have to be a blanket stoppage, but it needs to be something that people can actually see a change. I personally don't care about people drinking. Got a ton of friends and cousins that drink all the time. Guess what? People are gonna drink where they want to drink at. Whether they drink downtown or drink at home. So I don't want you to be saying that if we stop it, it's gonna change downtown, because that's not true. People gonna drink whenever they want to drink. They're gonna drink wherever they want to, when they want to, and where they want to. Because people paying for liquor, ain't like you giving them the beer free. I mean, they paying for it. So I think we need to really still look at making real changes as far as being able to openly walk around with open containers of beer up and down the street. Because at some point, these people got to get in their car. And if you telling me that a person drank 5 or 6 beers, they're not real close to being intoxicated, I'm going to tell you that's not true. If you're drinking 4 or 5 beers at a time, back to back, sooner or later you're going to be intoxicated. But we don't seem to want to address the intoxicated issue. We want to address the downtown issue where everybody can do things downtown. My thing is, if we're going to do it downtown, then just be open to do it over the town, not just control everything that, it seems to be right now, everything is confined to downtown Monroe. We can't do the same thing outside of downtown that we can do in downtown, and that's my real issue. If you want to do it downtown, and then be open with doing it outside of downtown.
So
I don't want you charging people downtown one thing and charging people outside of town another.
Would you like to expand the entertainment district?
I have no problem with it.
Okay.
If that's what y'all want to come up with, and it's a discussion that be talking about making downtown expanded, I definitely had no problem with that, because I have had people that actually say that they don't think it's right that downtown being treated than people outside of downtown. And I'm sure some of y'all don't got the same complaints. But I really support Mr. Bradley, and I don't necessarily think we have to hold a vote today. I think we can really do some research and see what we can actually come up with to support the people with businesses downtown, and also try to make sure the city is covered. Because in my opinion, if you get drunk downtown in the city pushing the ordinance, I would think the city should be liable for a lawsuit if somebody leave from here getting drunk with our ordinance pushing downtown. But then we're gonna say that ain't our, I mean, it's not our fault. But we passing these ordinance for them to do it. Then simply, it should be our fault.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Mr. Gregory? Nothing? Ms. Malcolm?
Well, as a past representative of the DDA during the times when we were researching and trying to draw businesses to town, and serving as a liaison now and hearing the discussions from the representatives from downtown at those meetings, I wholeheartedly support continuing with what we have. And at any time we see that there is an issue that's arising, that we rethink a strategy. But right now, from all indications, it is serving us well. And I feel like that, we are a destination on the map, and let's continue and move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Ms. Crawford? Marcia?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I got you. Would you like to add?
I can understand issues on both sides, and I definitely agree we can do some research on both sides to see what's best for the city and the citizens of Monroe.
Thank you, Myosha. Mr. Boyce?
I'm just gonna echo with Myosha. I don't think we need to vote on this tonight. I think this is something we can revisit and revamp it and make it. Because I don't have a problem with drinking. I only drink when God is good. So I'm okay with it. But we definitely need to revisit this. I don't think we should vote on it tonight. But to go off what Ms. Malcolm said, that the housing wasn't on the agenda, but stuff like that needs to be on the agenda. I think we're putting profit over priority right now, and it's people in specifically minority communities that are hurting right now. And I know I done said that at least 30 times, and we always say, hey, well, we're going to do it. We're going to visit something, but we never do it. I'm not sure if y'all know, but we just approved an apartment complex off of Unicia Drive, and they said that, well, we're going to start the one-bedroom off $1,800. That's affordable housing. Then I'm not sure who said it, but somebody on this board made the comment, well, maybe two different families need to come in there. So I'm trying to figure out how the hell is it affordable if two different families have to stay there to afford it.
Stated that it's workforce housing, not affordable.
Would you pay $1,800 for a one-bedroom? Okay, so why you expect somebody else to?
But again, we're talking different things.
No, I'm just saying we just need to get priorities straight. That's all I'm saying.
I understand. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's stick to the downtown development.
There's a $1,300 apartment in Tanglewood. Who's going to pay $1,300 for an apartment in Tanglewood?
We're going to have to come back to housing. That's not on the agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Little.
I am sympathetic to both sides of the issue. I think we're looking at one is a moral commitment or conviction, and the other is economic. And perhaps when we were struggling, we made a commitment to do it, to enact this. And if we repeal it, perhaps we're going back on our word to these people that have invested, whatever. Somebody told me a long time ago, don't ever start anything you can't keep up. So maybe we needed to give it more thought before it was passed. But I think right now, I'm not in a position to vote to repeal it.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Now, I do know that, Tyler?
Thank you. I just wanted a minute to gather my thoughts. One of the first things I want to address is the housing real quick.
Well, no, I'm sorry, and I know that does need to come up, and we definitely need to put it on the agenda for discussion next month, but it's not on the agenda tonight.
The only thing that I would like to say is that I know that Sarah Shropshire is working on it. I recently
Tyler?
mentioned.
No, point of order, not housing.
All right, sounds good. I too hear that both sides of the issue, but we have given people the ability to choose. It was unanimously passed that downtown could have this ordinance, and the ability for people to do to follow the law correctly is up to them. I agree that if something gets out of order, if it gets out of hand, then we need to address that. I even think that we can watch what we promote as a city and we can deal with issues as far as that's concerned. But I believe that what we've allowed has not caused a negative impact and that it is a benefit to people. I think what you hear is younger people moving this direction. I think you see families coming in, perhaps they're not the people who've been here forever, but you need a life's blood. And sometimes that means bringing people in from the outside. People like our parks, they like the community that we built, and they like the ability to be able to go from place to place downtown unimpeded. And if that becomes a problem, then we should address that. But until then, I believe that we're doing the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. I do think that our ordinance needs some cleaning up. We're going to have to adjust some things anyway. Now, Mr. Bradley, if you desire to make a motion tonight, that's your prerogative. If you want to work on the cleanup as a council, emails are public record, so if you want to go back and forth on email to come up with something that's more suited for downtown, whether it's the hours of the businesses can serve alcohol, or maybe addressing the clear containers or from where they come, whether it's the city or individual establishments. We can do that, or you can make the motion you see fit.
I want to make, I guess, a couple of points prior to answering the question of the motion. One says, I have not, in any of my comments, stated that this ordinance has passed and the people using it to drink have caused any disturbance or any problems. That's never been an issue of mine. I realize that most people drink responsibly on this, and it's not been a problem. My concern on this is not that. My concern is where we're going as a city in promoting and encouraging alcohol drinking. Not the abuse on the streets. It's what we have passed as a city, and does it encourage and promote the consumption of alcohol? And as a city, that is not our place to be. I voted for the ordinance when it passed. I think that was a mistake. Somebody made a comment, why not all of a sudden, I think it's a mistake. It's not all of a sudden. This is something that's been on my mind for some time now. It's just now, bringing it out. I think it was a mistake when we passed it, and we need to correct that mistake. That's the primary thing I wanted to say about that is what we're looking at is the image and example we're setting for our young people when the city encourages or promotes alcohol consumption. It's not what's happening. It's what will happen to our young people as they continue down this road. I think Mr. Fountain referred to it as a slippery slope, and we can use that. That's my concern on this. Second, then answer your question. Now, I think I'm hearing the will of the council already. I said they would like to see this studied and brought for a vote later on, and I'm fine with that. I'm not going to back off my feelings on it, but I'm fine for the vote to happen later. I would hope this would happen as early as next month. If that can happen for whatever cleanup needs to be done and suggestions made by anyone on that, that'd be fine, and we can bring it back up next month. I would just encourage my fellow council members, though, as you're thinking about this, and we heard a lot about the success of downtown, the success of the city, we have achieved great successes, I think, as a city. I hear talk about bringing young people coming in with children and enjoying the parks and walking the streets. I love it. I think that's great. But my encouragement to people to think about is if the success of our city, if the success of the city of Monroe is measured by people walking the streets of Monroe with an open glass of an alcoholic beverage, if that's the measurement of success, we need to stop and think about what success is in our lives. And I'll leave it with that.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Are there any other comments?
Quick question for Logan. Do you think y'all can get something done by next month?
Well, next month may be pushing it because I need some input from each of you. We then need to vet some of that stuff. I think it requires a little bit more one-on-one discussion with each of you.
Gotcha. What kind of time frame can you give us?
So an ordinance usually requires 2 months to get through, right? So, I would say at least 2 to 3 months of just preparation before we get it back to you guys in a final form.
Can you handle that, Larry?
2 months, yeah, that's good. 2 months.
If I can just interject here on that, just for y'all's benefit, we try and update ordinances as best we can. They don't always get done that way every 5 years. So there's already been sort of a short list that's been building, if you will, with staff on just some cleanups and some edits of just technical details on the alcohol ordinance. So before this discussion came up about sort of repealing portions of the ordinance, there were already discussions about various cleanup mechanisms that need to be done specifically to city events, technical issues, locations of breweries, microbreweries in downtown, those sort of things. So at the end of the day, I do think that if what I heard from the council is y'all wanted to study this some more, our suggestion would be that you probably need a good 30 to 60 days of discussion with staff and the council and stakeholders that y'all want to talk to so that we can get direction, and then we'll need to draft edits based upon that, and then it would come before y'all for a first and second reading. So I'm not trying to delay it. We'll do it as quickly as you want to, but practically speaking, if y'all are wanting to do some internal staff studying, some internal discussions, some stakeholder, discussions with folks, that's going to take at least 30 to 60 days, and we would need 2 to 3 weeks to draft based upon that and then get it for you. So all things practical, you're talking, if you had updates or changes that included repeals, whatever, your prerogative was to move forward with a vote, that's probably going to take you a few months. Now, that's just our sort of input is, practically speaking, I would say April, May to do staff study, and then June to do some ordinance rewrites, and then you could be at July and August for first and second readings, just talking out loud. Be happy to dig into it further if you need any direction.
I would suggest, though, in 60 days, if you can come back with the results of the study so that we can have guidance as to where to go from before the drafting of the ordinance.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that's really kind of what the purpose of tonight was also, is like, if y'all, if there's a desire to sort of, I'm using very simpleton terms here, but sort of repeal provisions of our alcohol ordinance and go back to the way it was pre-2018, or if y'all have desire and direction to improve the 2018 ordinance and move sort of in the direction of cleaning up what we have and making it more functional under, alcohol provisions. I really do think that staff needs to get that direction from you guys. And if we need to readdress that next month after some staff discussions, that'd be fine. But I agree, before we draft, I don't want to draft repeal and y'all say, heck no, we don't want to repeal, we want to improve. And I don't want to draft improve and then y'all say, no, repeal things.
And that's what it said. I agree. That's what I said.
So.
Need a motion,
No.
repeal, or, which direction we're going?
We will. Let's do the internal discussions. And I think it'll all come out in the wash because again, emails are public record, so we can go back and forth on email to narrow it down to where we expand it, where we limit it. And then you'll come back with that final draft and we'll move forward with a motion and then the reading and then the second reading. So.
Just point of reference on that then, I would just, since you got a lot of people here, if you want this to come back up based upon results of staff efforts, I would just go ahead and say we're going to bring it back up next month then. That way it's not, people aren't wondering when it's coming back up.
Is next month good?
Next month will be good, I think, for internal staff stuff, and then from there, we could draft.
Okay, sounds good. Next month. Now, before any of you leaves, I'm going to do this application of spirituous liquors and beer and wine on-premise consumption at the 2412 Cafe. We're going to do that quickly, then we'll take a bathroom break, and you can go on your way. But give us this one. This is an application for spirituous liquors and beer and wine on-premise consumption for 2412 Cafe. Ricky and Taylor Clay, are you here? If you would just stand right there, we're really quick.
That application is in order, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal.
Just for benefit for everybody, this is the Fambro Laundromat location.
Fambro Laundromat location. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Garrett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyce. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. When do you open? We are so excited. On Unicorn Day, right? If it's okay with everybody, we'll take 5 minutes, bathroom breaks, and you can all go on your way, and then we'll be right back in.
We need a motion on that, Mayor.
I need a motion, Ms. Malcolm.
To adjourn for 5 minutes.
Motion from by Ms. Malcolm, and a second.
Malcolm, Mr. Gray.
Beverly. Ms. Malcolm made the motion to go to our 14-minute bathroom break, and Mr. Gregory seconded it. And I'm just going to say it was unanimous.
It appeared that way.
So, welcome back, everybody. We have 2 appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission, 2 that will expire on May 1st, 2023. First, Ms. Susan Brown does not wish to serve again. Staff has interviewed several applicants and recommend Susan Sykes be appointed to serve on the Historic Preservation Commission. I need a motion to appoint Ms. Sykes for a 3-year term to expire May 1st.
Move to appoint Ms. Sykes.
2026. I have a motion by Ms. Malcolm, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dickinson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that Ms. Elizabeth Jones be reappointed.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. Ms. Jones would have a 3-year term to expire May 1st, 2026. Motion by Larry Bradley. Second.
Third. Norman had the second.
Norman
I was just
Garrett.
giving the third.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We have 2 appointments that expired on March 1st, 2023 to the Tree Board. Ms. Lynn Laird would like to continue to serve on the Tree Board for a 3-year term to expire March 1st, 2026.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Malcolm and a second by Mr. Little. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Second, Ms. Susan Sykes would like to continue to serve on the Tree Board for an expiring term on March 1st, 2026. I need a motion, please.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve by Mr. Gregory, a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garrett. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving to the second reading of the zoning code text amendment number 15. Mr. Rosenthal?
Yes, Mayor, that is just ready for your second reading. If y'all want it read, you can. Otherwise, you've waived that and it's ready for adoption
Thank
for
you.
tonight. And of course, Mr. Calendar will address any issues you have there.
Thank you.
Move we waive the reading.
Thank you, sir. Everybody agree?
Second.
I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Bradley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Dickinson. You were louder. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the resolution rescinding preliminary plat approval moratorium. Mr. Probst.
All right, thank you, Mayor. As you know, we've had a couple of resolutions to authorize and extend a moratorium on the acceptance of residential or of applications for preliminary plats for residential development purposes outside of the city core. It was due to expire June 30th, but for all intents and purposes, we have implemented a lot of the code updates that we needed to as part of the comprehensive plan with Amendment 15, just ahead of this. So there's not a lot of cleanup left to do. There might be some things here and there over the course of the year, but the bulk of that has been implemented. We're seeing some level of ease in the supply chain world, which was also a part of it. And also, we're finally making some progress on the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation, which was also a part of the rationale for this moratorium. So additionally, it takes a long time for some of these developments to go from application to fruition on the ground. And so one of the ones recently that you completed, they probably won't even really see construction until sometime well into 2025. So for that reason, we do want to be business friendly and go ahead and start allowing the acceptance of some of these applications to go ahead and hit the hopper, and we as staff can go ahead and start working with these folks, on some of these really long processes. So all that's to say, staff doesn't have any issues releasing this moratorium a couple months early.
Are there any questions for Logan? Does anybody want to have the resolution read? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Let me clarify too. It ends April 30th, 2023, so the end of this month. And we'll begin accepting applications May 1, that Monday, May 1, 2023.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Malcolm. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. District items. Anyone have anything to discuss in your districts? Lee Malcolm.
No, I do have a question regarding, can I ask a question from the one of the department chairs?
Yes, ma'am, I think that'd be fine.
Brian, could you give us, I'm trying to just do an overview, but quickly, how many installs with fiber we've done this month?
Well, I can give you a total. I don't keep up with the month to month in my head, but I do know the total. We should be over, with installs today, we'd be right at 870.
Okay. And if I'm reading that right, we were about 700 and something last year this time?
No, ma'am.
No.
At the beginning of the year, at the last meeting we discussed numbers, we were at 4 something. So we've done about a little over 400 installs in the past couple of months.
Okay.
We did 22 today. We have been averaging 10 to 12 a day, and now we've got it up to, we hope to be averaging 18 to 25 a day moving on. If we can get people to be at home, that's where we'll be. We've got the supplies, material, and we got 2 more contractors in this week.
Well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of postings on Facebook with people that are very frustrated with other carriers. And it appears that the city of Monroe is available in their areas. Do you think that everyone that has the capability to connect with us understands that
No, ma'am.
we service them?
No, ma'am. Well, we took delivery of new door hangers this week. Marketing is not my strong point, I will tell you that. John and I met with some over-the-top marketers yesterday or the day before, it was yesterday. And we're researching ways to make sure everybody knows. Let me get you that. We are pushing forward with that.
Because I just
you
think
did have
it's
a
so
question.
imperative right now with not just the one, historian in the mix, but we've got others out there that are coming on board and bringing fiber to those areas, and that we capture them before they connect with the newer carriers that are out there.
You had a question the last time we discussed. I told you I'd get back with you. What is the percentage of new customers that we are adding? It's right at 34% that are totally new, completely new, out of that 800 and some odd. And we're trying to keep that, well, we have to, not trying, we have to keep a number of new customers in new areas, like you just said, so we can keep these contract installers here.
Right.
They don't get 4 installs a day, they don't want to be here. When that's how they make their livelihood. If they're not doing installs, they're not making money. So we're balancing our transition people that are our customers would transition over, and the new customer coming in. And it seems to be working, but you are right, we need to work better at it.
And my other question is, why are some people in the downtown core, like, I think Blue Hound was saying that their service was terrible. I'm across the street from them, and I have impeccable
Blue Hound is we need to take offline to discuss.
Okay.
I want to discuss one individual while we're.
But I think there are others that are.
If they've called us, we'll address it. But they got to make us aware. But that one, I'll discuss with you after.
Let me elaborate a little bit on that marketing scheme or campaign. Brian and I have recently discussed, maybe as early as this morning, it would not be very smart for us to go ahead and blast citywide that fiber is available until
it really
literally fiber is available at every corner. We are going to do that, but since it's not strong in every far reach of the city yet, I don't know that that's the wisest tactic. That's why we're starting with the door hangers in select areas and neighborhoods.
And we've discussed mailers, the mail out things, and
people don't read
the first thing, people don't read them. I mean, the first thing, what do I do when I pay my bills? I go on my phone and I go on the app and I pay my bill. I never see what comes in the envelope. And that's, so the door hanger thing is we thought, that'll catch them coming in the door. They'll see it. And what the door hanger basically says, that when we come into a neighborhood, if you're our existing customer, we'll be calling you. If you're not, you call us.
Ms. Malcolm, I will say, I got the numbers in front of me. January, we had 431 fiber customers, and as of March 31st, we had 699.
And as of this morning, is 8 something.
Look, as long as we do 30 or 40 a day, I'm good. I hate to be like that parent who said, great, you made a 93 in your test, why didn't you make 100?
Right.
Ms. Crawford?
Hello, I don't have any issues. I just want to thank Jeremiah for taking care of the issues, especially the streets and bad potholes on West Marable and addressing the guardrail issue on West Marable.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Myosha. Mr. Boyce?
I don't really have anything like district related, but, you know, if we were at Green Street, well, you heard it here first.
Green Street speed bumps, Jeremiah, will you put something out?
To do a traffic.
I wrote through the other day, it's only one.
Okay.
It's only one.
But you got something else?
Yeah, if we expand it and it passes for the alcohol thing, cool, so be it. But we might as well go the extra mile, Logan. Why don't we just go ahead and decriminalize marijuana? If we can drink wherever we want to go.
Which will be obviously another discussion. Before you came on board, we had a discussion, there was a meeting, and there were some no-shows to that meeting. It never got any legs, so we might have to bring that up again.
Yep, might as well go the extra mile.
Okay. Mr. Bradley?
I don't really have anything much. I want to comment on my OSHA with Jeremiah. I think Jeremiah's doing a really good job of trying to fix potholes in the city. I'm concerned, not from Jeremiah's department so much, but overall, is a few years ago, the city repaved several streets just by dropping asphalt on top of bad surface. And we're gonna have to pay for that. We've got my street I live on, McDaniel Street's in horrible condition. And because it's just got holes all the way from downtown all the way out. And that's the reason, is because of the problem that was done before it. But that's just one of the streets. If you drive around Monroe, you're gonna see several of those. And I don't know where we're gonna get the financing and money that's needed to repair these now. Because it looks awful, but going out and fixing these potholes is a very temporary cure. And we just need to address that financially, I guess. And how do we go back in and dig these up and whatever you call all that stuff that you do to the streets, but to get them ready. You can't just pave over, and we did that several years ago. We just paved over a lot of streets.
Right.
And then we got to pay for it.
And Jeremiah did say, I think about this time last year, that we have to go in and mill a lot of these streets like they did Pinecrest. But yeah, run down McDaniel and Marable, you'll find some potholes.
You found a lot of them on McDaniel, but again, it's a cost issue. I don't know how we pay to pave 2 miles of McDaniel Street, by milling and repaving.
I know.
But we need to find a way to address it, I guess.
T-Splosh would have helped.
T-Splosh would have helped.
Well, and I will follow up again, just so you all know, all 3 precincts in Monroe voted in favor of the T-Splosh.
But it doesn't help
Not
us
another
today.
one in the county, Social Circle, or Loganville did. And I think that's a testament to the fact that you spend money wisely for our constituents. Unfortunately, we're not the majority, so it's something that we'll have to get out and market better next time anyway. Mr. Garrett. Thank you. Mr. Gregory.
Speaking of spending money wisely, I'd like to say that our finance department won 2 awards for their record keeping.
Again, thank you. Way to go, Beth.
So thank you, Beth, for your commitment to making sure that we're keeping the books straight and available for the public to see what we're doing. I'd also like to say thank you to Danny. We had a situation in the Mill Village where some people had left some trash on the curb after a move out for a long period of time. And I called him to see what was going on. He quickly took care of the situation. and told me that it was the person who owns the house responsibility to put a roll-off out there and take care of it themselves. And I'll be darned if the next few days somebody didn't pull a roll-out out there after he cleaned it up, and I guess they were there to take care of it. But they cleaned up plenty of other stuff out of there, but I appreciate you letting me know about the process and taking care of it anyway. So thank you, Danny. And then Chief Watts, I appreciate you handling stuff downtown, and when people complain that you deal with that and you're making your presence known down there. So I appreciate that. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nathan Little.
I don't have anything.
Well, thank you, sir. Mr. Dickinson.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we need to leave on a note of levity. Yeah, I think earlier when you said I was louder than Mr. Gregory on the motion, I was waiting for you to say, and you're smarter and you're better looking.
Well, that was obvious. That's what,
Well, he knew the louder part was a lie to
And
begin with.
on
so.
that note, that's it.
okay, just a few things. I got a call from a gentleman named Scott Barrett. He's working over at Skyline Trace Apartments. They had an emergency. Chief Dykes, he called me and he wrote a letter that I meant to have passed along. And if I did, great. And if I didn't, I'm sorry I missed it. But just wanted to congratulate you for your response time and how professional your team handled it. Also thank Norman, and if you would tell Jonathan Lachlan, the two of them came out, did siding like professionals on the Habitat House. That is Marjorie's house that's under construction and will be, she'll be moving in, getting CO on May the 13th. Public Works, Danny, in the last week, I've told you before the meeting, I've had 5 folks stop me just to say how good a job Public Works is doing, whether it's the day-to-day picking up or just the appearance of overall downtown. And I so appreciate that. RV, the folks at the Story Shop called me last week. They apparently had some person out there who was harassing some kids on a very regular basis, and that's apparently no longer. So thank you for jumping on that. And it's 8:24. That was pretty quick. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Have a motion by Mr. Little and a second by Mr. Garrett. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Meeting adjourned.